What up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Cardinal Red, and we back for some more of that Ali Land boxing talk, people. And today we talking Khan quits, Crawford exposed, Spence Jr. K.O'S Crawford. Alright, y'all, I know that's a mouthful for a title, but a lot to talk about. Big night of boxing last night, man. We got to see the Danny fight. We got to see the Khan Crawford fight. And Khan Crawford, wow, what a controversial ending, man. I never expected it. I expected the fight to end in dramatic fashion. I just didn't expect it to end like that. All right, we're going to go with these topics, these three topics, in that exact order. To me, this is how the fight played out to me, okay? Crawford showed his power at 147. He showed his speed. Amir Khan, like I said about 2 videos ago, if you go back and check my last video, I spoke about the Khan Crawford fight. And I just felt like Crawford has more skill sets than Khan has skills. You know, Khan has skills in boxing, but doesn't have a lot of skill sets to hang his hat on. And I feel like that was the reason in the first round Crawford was able to knock him down. He was able to land that spectacular punch. And I feel like that Khan, he's just not in that upper echelon of top 147-pound fighters. I don't think this is a fight he should have took. He turned down $8 million to fight Brook and went and fought Crawford. And I spoke about that a few videos back, that I feel like he was ducking. It was almost like he would rather get knocked out by Crawford than to lose popularity and get knocked out by Brook. Because I felt like either way, he would have lost both of those fights. I just don't feel like he's on Brook's level. I don't feel like he's on Crawford's level. Khan is a very fast fighter, very likable guy, but he's not in that upper echelon of top fighters. Now let's talk about this whole aspect of him quitting. Yes, he did quit. Okay. Now let's explain. Let me explain this. In boxing, getting hit low is a part of the game. He said that I've never been hit low. I've never been hit in the testes before. And I can't believe that. I can't believe that you are 31, 32 years old, been boxing a whole amateur career. You've boxed, I believe, more than 30 fights in your professional career, and you've never been hit with a low blow, ever? Even in sparring, in training, just playing around, you know, everybody's been hit with a low blow. You know, whether you're street fighting or you playing around with somebody, you're sparring with somebody, everybody's been hit low. So I can't believe he's never, ever been hit in the testes before. That just don't make sense. So I can't give him that excuse when it comes to that's why he stopped the fight. Well, I stopped it because I got hit in the testes and I've never felt that type of pain. You know, that man, that's a Khan. That's an Amir Khan, you know, right there. So that's a cop-out, man. All right. Now, number 2, you know, that's a part of the game. You know what I'm saying? If you can take... Did you see his face? You see how much punishment he took to the face? Now, you think those face shots, you know, didn't feel as bad as getting hit in your testes, you know, would. And, you know, his face was pretty messed up. So I can't believe that the shot he took to the testes was worse than some of them face shots he took during that fight. I'm just not buying the whole, well, I got hit with the low blow, and that's why I had to stop the fight. My legs locked up. Now, I will say this. If you rewatch it, it didn't look like he got hit in the testes, number 1. It looked like he got hit right on the thigh where the thigh turns into the groin. You know, it didn't look like he got hit. You know, because your groin kind of straddles your thigh muscle, where your thigh is at. So I don't think he actually got hit in the testes. I think he actually got hit on the thigh, near the groin area. And you know, maybe that gave him it could have gave him a cramp in the thigh. You know, that could lock your leg up because he might have hit him so hard that it cramped his thigh muscle up. So I could believe that. But, you know, I can't believe that you've never been hit in the testes and you just never felt pain like that. And this is the reason why you had to stop the fight, you know. So in my eyes, you know, he quit. You know, it was his opportunity to end the fight without being knocked out and humiliated like he was by Canelo Alvarez. So, you know, what everybody's saying he didn't quit, no, he quit. He quit. And if you think that low blow, which it wasn't a low blow because it didn't land directly on it landed, like I said, more on the thigh groin area than the actual testy area. I don't feel like that's a good enough excuse for him to say, well, that's why I had to end the fight. Come on, y'all. We've seen guys whole sides of their face split open. We've seen guys' lips split in half. We've seen people's skulls ripped to pieces. None of these people quit. You know, none of these people said, I can't continue because this is too vicious of an injury. You know, and I can't believe ever. You know, I played basketball and been kicked in the, you know, and yeah, it stops you for a few minutes, and it does lock your legs, and it makes your stomach hurt. But it's never been a pain to where I was like, man, well, the game's over with because you know, we finished the game. You know what I'm saying? You just got to walk it off. You know, these are professional athletes. These are not amateur athletes or guys who don't have money to go see real doctors in case something bad happens to them in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So I can't sit here and say, you know what, that was such a vicious blow that, yeah, I can see him. What about the Bo Galata fight? How many times did he get hit and he didn't quit? You know what I'm saying? You know, after the first one, you know, or the second one, and it wasn't like Terence Crawford was just sitting there like, yamming him to the testes. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? You got hit with one shot and you were getting your butt beat the whole fight. So I'm not buying that excuse at all, man. And I think I'm going to end that rant there. You know, I'm going to end that little segment there. Because, yes, Amir Khan was hit with a shot below the belt, but it wasn't a direct testy hit. So I'm not buying the excuse of that's why he quit at all, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not buying that one at all. And yes, so everybody saying he didn't quit, Amir Khan quit. Now let's move on to why I feel like Terence Crawford was exposed during this fight. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack and hate for that, but what I'm about to say, but when you fight a guy of the caliber of Amir Khan, whose career is basically over, he's had a nice boxing career, you know, good athlete, great, but never hit that what Max Kellerman called blue chip level of boxing, which I can agree with. He's not a blue chip boxer. He's more of a I ain't gonna call him a gatekeeper or a journeyman, but he's he's a very talented boxer within his lane. You know, if he stays in his lane, then he's a very talented boxer. If he's going to up against the top 5 to top 10 fighters, he'll probably dominate all of them. But once he starts going into that 5 to number 1, you know, the top 5, actual top 5 from number 1 to number 5, I think everybody from number 1 to number 5 would knock him out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not giving Terence Crawford a lot of credit for beating or even dominating Amir Khan, because there are other fights out there that he could have taken, and that could have been much better fights than this one was. You know, if he was to face Danny Garcia instead of Amir Khan, I felt, you know, if them two would have been fighting last night, and instead of Khan Crawford, I think that would have been a better fight, and I think we would have got to see a lot more of what Terence Crawford has to offer as a boxer, you know, because he hasn't fought that upper echelon. The best name he can hang his hat on at this point is Jeff Horn, which is really sad, you know. And I just don't see him being, I don't see what he did last night as pushing him up into Spence's level. You know, Spence, if Spence is the best welterweight right now, I can't see people saying, well, Crawford's the number one pound. He's not the number one pound for pound, because Spence has fought guys who are on that elite level, you know. And I know people will say, well, he didn't beat nobody but Kell Brook, but I feel like Kell Brook would have knocked Amir Khan out. So, you know, even at the end of the day, when you think about it, when you compare those two fighters, the two opponents, who people can say that these are the upper echelon opponents that you guys have fought, Spence fighting and beating Brook, and then Crawford fighting and beating Khan. Well, if those are your two best fights, or the two most upper echelon 147 fighters that you guys have fought, well, Brook is the better of those two fighters. Let's just be honest, you know. And last night should have proven that to a lot of people, even though a lot of people don't like Brook for some reason. Kell Brook is obviously a much more solid fighter at this point in his career than Amir Khan is, and last night really should have proven that. So if you just compare those two, and then you compare Spence and Crawford, you gotta look at Crawford a little more. You know, Spence not bad, but you know, a little more upper echelon than Crawford is, and a little more blue chip than Crawford is. And I feel like last night, because Crawford wasn't able to take advantage of that first knockdown, the fight shouldn't even went that long. Number one, he should have disposed of him before the fifth round. If you ask me, I think it should have been over before. And I think if Spence was fighting Khan, Spence would have knocked him out before the fifth round. You know, that first round would have probably been the end of Amir Khan, you know, if he was fighting Spence. And I feel the same way about Pacquiao. From what I seen last night, if Khan was fighting Pacquiao last night, Pacquiao would have knocked him out in the first or second round, you know what I'm saying, even at this age. So I feel like with all that being said, you got to look at Crawford a little different now. You have to, especially looking at you know, Spence's last fight, even though Mikey, much smaller fighter, you know, truly a 140-pound fighter or below. He's not really a 147 fighter. You know, I love Mikey. I wish him nothing but the best, but I hope he goes back down in weight. I don't think he should be campaigning at 147, you know, at least not at this point in his career. Maybe he should have started at 140 and then went to 147. But there's really not a lot of guys at 140 for him to hang his hat on. But I just feel like, you know, comparing those two fighters, if you have to say one thing, you would have to say that Crawford got exposed last night because he's nowhere near as talented as Errol Spence is. And if Errol Spence was fighting Amir Khan last night, he would have destroyed Amir Khan within the first or second round, you know. Just look at it like that. So I feel like Crawford was exposed to me. Now, here's where it's going to get a little tricky to people, or it might get a little controversial, because a lot of people seem to not like Errol Spence. And I'm one of those guys who looks at boxing not from, I like this guy, so I'm going to ride with him. no matter what. No, I look at boxing from skills and athleticism and who's being the smartest with what they have to bring to the table. And I feel like all around Errol Spence is being the smartest because people say he weight bullies, which is not weight bullying. If you're a naturally bigger guy, if you are 150 to 154 pounds, you should be fighting at 147 pounds. You know, you should be dropping those 5 pounds to fight at a weight that you can dominate instead of trying to go up and fight guys who are naturally bigger than you and you're probably going to lose. I.e., look what happened to Mikey Garcia. And he took too big of a jump, but, you know, that should just let you know something about why you should never campaign up. You should campaign down in boxing. You should always campaign down in weight. You should never campaign up. It's too much to put on your body. But I feel like when you put Crawford and Spence head to head, and you look at both skill sets head to head, you look at last night's fight and Errol Spence's last fight, I think you should be able to see the signs of domination from Spence. And I don't feel like Terence Crawford's performance last night, although good and dominating, it wasn't dominating of a blue chip fighter. You know, and I look at Mikey as a blue chip fighter, but not at 147. At the weight class that he was winning titles at, he was a blue chip fighter. At 147, you know, I look at Mikey and Khan kind of the same because neither one of them are blue chip at 147, if you ask me, you know. And so when you compare those last two fights and you say who was more dominant, I would have to say, and people are going to say, well, Errol Spence didn't knock Mikey out. Very true, and Mikey's a smaller guy than Khan, naturally. Very true. But if you ask me, if Khan didn't quit, I think that fight goes 12 rounds. You know, so like I just said, you know, I look at Mikey and Khan as sort of the same fighter. So if both of those fights went 12 rounds, you know, it's kind of like almost the same fight, and it's kind of like almost the same fight. So you would have to say both guys dominated their opponent, the lesser opponent, but Spence looked more technically sound to me in his fight. You know, Crawford looked a little erratic as he was fighting Khan. You know, Khan was catching him with some good shots. Once he settled in a little bit, there were a few good shots by Khan, but I think Crawford looked a little more erratic than Spence looked in his fight. You know, and that's just my personal opinion. You know, I feel like because Spence is the naturally bigger guy, that Spence is just, he's more calm and he's more able to absorb 147-pound punches maybe than Terence Crawford is. And I think that would be a major factor in if they were ever to fight. I think Spence would be able to take Crawford's punishment more than Crawford would be able to take Spence's punishment. So I feel like Spence would actually KO Crawford if they would ever take, ever to fight, you know. And I don't, from what I saw, just wasn't impressed, you know. And maybe it was just the level of competition he was fighting that didn't impress me. And the reason I don't want to give Crawford another notch on his belt or push him up a little bit more in my caliber of boxer, you know, it's just my personal opinion. Who you fight determines how good you are to me. So I just don't feel like the level of competition that he's fighting is worthy of saying he's the best guy at 147 pounds, man. Let me know what y'all think down below. Just a recap. Khan, you're a con artist, man. You copped out, you quit, you know. Terence Crawford, you got exposed, buddy. I'm sorry. You're fighting a lesser opponent, and you should have knocked him out, man. It shouldn't even went that long. And I do feel like Errol Spence does KO Crawford if and when they do fight, man. My personal opinion, like it, I hate it, man. Hit that like button for me, please. And subscribe, y'all. Please subscribe. Just let me know what y'all think down below, man. If you got 1 minute, man, I always say this. 1 minute in your life and some leftovers can really change your life, man. So give up a minute. You know, go out here and find you somebody who's less fortunate and trying to help somebody, man. Give them a helping hand, man. You never know who you helping. If you ain't got nothing else to talk to them about, man, just talk to them about boxing, man. Break the ice, you know what I'm saying? And until next time, y'all, we got a lot more to come, man. This is Ali Land Boxing Talk, Cardinal Red, and we out of here.